And that's what I did the first time around, right? So 2003, I did that conventional approach and I thought, okay, I'm done. I don't want to think about this anymore. It's behind me. I've got 2 little kids and a career, and off I went, thinking I was going to be safe, especially when I hit my 10-year cancerversary. I thought there'd be no more cancer. I'm done. Rude awakening.
All right, gang. Well, I've got another radical remission survivor interview for you today. It's Karla Mans Giroux. She is a survivor of metastatic breast cancer. Originally diagnosed in 2003, she underwent a mastectomy, chemo, and radiation. 11 years later, in 2014, she had a recurrence, metastatic breast cancer. And this time, she took a different approach. She embarked on a holistic healing journey to help herself. And today she is blessed to report that she has been NED, no evidence of disease, since 2016. So 9 years NED. That's absolutely fantastic. And Karla is certified by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches. She is a cancer coach, wellness coach. She co-founded the Health Navigators, which is a virtual cancer wellness community that you can learn more about. We'll talk about that. She founded that 5 years ago. And she's also co-director of the Radical Remission Project and co-host of the Radical Remission Stories That Heal podcast. So she's doing a lot of great stuff. I'm really excited to introduce you to her, share her story with you, and just dig into it. Every interview I do just adds to the pile. Like the joke is like, I just throw it on the pile. Here's another one, right? If anybody's doubtful or skeptical that cancer can be healed, here's another story for you. And, the analogy I like to use is healing cancer is like climbing Mount Everest. It's difficult. It's dangerous. Not everyone is able to do it, but we know it's possible because people have climbed Mount Everest, right? That's how we know it's possible. People have healed cancer. That's how we know it's possible. So without further pontificating, Karla, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Chris. It's great to be here.
It's good to see you. You look terrific. You look healthy and vibrant and well. And I'm really excited about all the things you're doing, in the cancer community and the holistic health world. And it's just great. A lot of people after cancer, they just kind of go back to their normal life. And I certainly tried to do that. I, was in real estate and I didn't want to think about cancer ever again. Once
Right.
I kind of got well, I was still serious about staying well, but I didn't want to talk about it. Really, I didn't want to think about it. Like it was traumatic, right? Going through
Right.
cancer, it's a traumatic experience that you don't really want to relive.
Exactly.
You
And
kind
that's
of
what
want
I
to,
did the first time around, right? So 2003, I did that conventional approach and I thought, okay, I'm done. I don't want to think about this anymore. It's behind me. I've got 2 little kids and a career, and off I went, thinking I was going to be safe, especially when I hit my 10-year cancerversary. I thought there'd be no more cancer.
yeah,
Rude
yeah, I
awakening.
get that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And I don't know if you know the stats because I don't know them off the top of my head. I've read them and forgotten them like so many things. Recurrence after 10 years is not that unusual for
Right.
conventionally treated breast cancer. Do
It
you
is not. I
happen to
don't
know?
know the stats, but you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a bit of a false sense of security, which 10 years is such a milestone. But there is a bit of a false sense of security that once you get to 10 years, like, oh, you're good.
Yeah.
If you're a young person, I was diagnosed at 26 and I, I've said for years, I'm like, well, I'm still pretty serious about my health and nutrition and all that because I've got a lot of life left. And
Mm,
if you have a lot of life left, if you have 30 or 40 or 50 years of life that you are hoping to live, well, there's still a risk of cancer, you know, and it could be a different kind of cancer.
right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, so it's like it's pretty important to try to stay vigilant and keep your health and your stress and your environment a priority, right?
Exactly. And, once you have cancer, you are clearly someone that could get it again. Like you were hospitable to cancer once, and unless you make some big changes, you're going to continue to be hospitable. And we want to be very inhospitable to cancer.
That's right.
Really make the changes. And that's not what I did. I didn't know any better that first time around. And at the age of 37, with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, I had a lot of things to think about other than cancer. And so, yeah, I just went back to living life the way I'd lived life.
How old were you when you were diagnosed the second time?
Yeah, the metastatic diagnosis came when I was 49,
Okay.
just turning
So
49. Yeah.
what what went through your head then? I mean,
Oh, I
obviously the
thought,
shock and just
right?
terrible news, but
Thought that was the end. I thought this is it. I mean, in my mind, people don't recover from this. Like I recovered the first time, but now I'm a goner. And of course that's the fear and the concern that comes up. And my boys were preteen teenagers at that time, and just devastated to think that I might not be there to see them graduate from high school or make other life milestones. And the news came on a Friday afternoon. Couldn't have been any worse, right? Like,
mm,
could you just waited and called me on Monday?
yeah.
But the neurologist who'd done the MRI thought, oh, better call right away. And we had to live the weekend, my husband and I, trying not to share that news with our sons because we didn't know what it meant. We didn't want to scare them. And it was really, really difficult. That whole weekend was just surreal, a blur. And luckily, the conventional oncologist that I worked with the first time around, I was able to speak to him the next week. And I was considered a new patient because it had been so long since I'd seen him. That's what they do. They cut you loose, like, you're good. See you in, 6 months, and then see you in a year, and then see you in another year. And they don't really give you anything to do. Just go live your life. Scary times. But when I got him on the phone, God bless him, he told me, this is a chronic disease we can manage. Now, he didn't really know anything about the new diagnosis. I think he was somehow, out of the goodness of his heart, just providing me with hope and something to hang on to, and knowing that perhaps what I had before was hormone receptor positive cancer. He knew he had lots of tools in his tool bag to help, right? So when he told me that this is a chronic disease we can manage, I said, all right, we are going to manage the hell out of this. And that's what I started to do. And I didn't wait for him or anybody else. I started making changes. I started doing everything that I could to make sure I could overcome this.
Well,
I've always,
let me interrupt you.
sure.
So at that point, were you thinking, well, I went through all this conventional treatments before and it got me 10 years. I guess I'll do it again?
No, I was thinking I gotta do more. It's not
Mm,
just the pill that's gonna save me. It's not just, the medicine. And with it metastasizing, and being hormone receptor positive, it wasn't about chemo. I did take the aromatase inhibitor to get started, and really I think that the lifestyle changes I made were the really big difference. And I needed to go back to my therapist. I had told her before Thanksgiving, I'm like, I'm good. I think, take some time off here. And then I get the diagnosis just after Thanksgiving and said, oh, geez, I need to talk to you. So I got back into my therapist's office, and she's the one that told me that there was this thing called a cancer coach. I had no idea. This was 2014, and I hadn't been in the cancer world. I had put it behind me. And this woman was a registered nurse, part-time surgical nurse for a cancer treatment center and doing cancer coaching. So I started working with her. She really helped me to clean up my diet, start detoxing, everything, my life, my household, my products, my people in my life, all of that. Set me on the path to do herbs and supplements, all the good stuff.
that's great. And so she was holistically minded, obviously,
Yes.
or he or she?
Yep.
Yeah. And so at what point did you find, or what other resources did you find sort of early in that process that made you think, I gotta change my life in a big way? Like,
Right, right. Yeah, I think I just had a knowing that I needed to change my life in a big way, and dug right in, and then found resources, you know, uh, Chris Carr, Crazy Sexy Cancer. I can
Yep.
remember was one of the first ones. I don't remember when I came across your stuff or if Square One was out yet, but definitely knew about Chris Wark.
I was
And
out there, but Square One was not.
yeah, because I met you at the Annie Appleseed Conference, February of
Wow.
20.
15, 16, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. My memory's not so great when it comes to dates, but at some point met you there, saw you speak. Obviously Annie Appleseed was a resource and all of the things that came out of being at that conference. Actually, it was right after I'd taken the radical remission workshop from Dr. Turner herself. And it was her last one that she did in 2018. So I must have met you in 2019.
Okay. I've
Yeah,
spoken at Annie Appleseed a few times, so they all kind of blur.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I know
Yeah,
how
like
that goes.
which year and all that.
Yeah.
That's great though. That's amazing. Yeah, I at that point, well, if we met in 2019, then my book was out. My first book was out because it came out in 2018. And the Square One program I had launched in 2017. But anyway, yeah, that's really cool. So you just kind of you just dove in. You're
I
like, okay,
did. I did. I knew I needed to do everything I could. So I had those two boys and I had a goal to live to be 100. I wanted to live to be 100, healthy and sane. Had always been a goal, something I'm just like, I've got this knowing that it's going to happen. And I thought, I'm not letting this get in the way of it. And when that doc said chronic disease that can be managed, I really did take that to heart. And I was a project manager at one point in my career, and I knew how to manage a project, and I treated it like a project. And I took time off from my very big, busy corporate international traveling job that I had. I said, gotta go, got things to do. And I took a 3 to 4 months off and really just focused on me and my healing and learned a lot, really did a lot of research and dug into all of it. And when I went back to work, I went back as a director level, but I said, I'm only working 40 hours a week. I'm not killing myself for
yeah,
for a job.
no
And
job is worth dying over.
no, and I was really lucky at the time because I had a new role I was stepping into and a new boss that I'd be reporting to, and he was European. And the Europeans don't work themselves to death like the Americans do. They have more boundaries around
Yeah.
when they carry their cell phone and when they work and when they don't work. And so it made it a whole lot easier to really manage this lifestyle because I didn't have to work the crazy long hours that I had worked before.
We took a trip to Greece this summer and you know, it's funny. Talk about a slow pace of
Yeah,
life. And
I love
and we would get up, in the morning, right? 7, whatever, 7, 8 o'clock, vacation hours.
it. Mhm.
And the one of the first mornings we were there, we were on one of the Greek islands, Skopelos. And anyway, uh it's where they filmed Mamma Mia.
Fun.
It's basically a girls' trip, and they let me come. Uh but we go down to this little cafe, this like seaside cafe, because the girls wanted to get, coffees or whatever. And we get down there, it's like 8:30, and they're not even open.
I was just gonna say they're not open, are they? They don't
There's
what
a
time
woman
did they
there.
open?
There's a woman there tidying up, and I'm like, oh, she's like, oh, we're not open yet. And I was like, oh, what time do you open? 9 o'clock. I'm like, okay, well, we'll just hang out, But
Mhm.
yeah, then we learned pretty quickly, yeah, like nothing opened until 9 a.m.
Yeah,
So, it's like
I
one
love
of those
that.
things. I want to give a shout out to Kelly Turner, Dr. Kelly Turner, because she is terrific. She's a friend of mine. Her book Radical Remission was such a phenomenal book. You're involved
Yeah.
officially with that organization, which is just awesome. I'm so glad. But I even have the book right
Yay.
over this shoulder. Look, it's right here.
There you go, I see it.
I
The
keep it
original
close.
one.
It's a
Yeah.
great book. There it
Yep.
is, Radical Remission. She also has a follow up called Radical Hope. But I recommend this book all the time. It's just such a great book because she really sort of dives into the common factors, as you know. I don't need to tell you, but I'm telling our listeners the common factors that cancer patients who survive against the odds have in common. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely such an honor to be part of the Radical Remission Project and helping carry forward what Dr. Turner has started. And that research was groundbreaking. Breaking. It's evidence-based, right? She didn't make up these factors. She studied people, 1,500 plus, and we continue to find more and more. As you said, we're putting more on the pile. And it's the healing factors or the lifestyle changes that people make to help them overcome a dire prognosis. And a radical remission survivor is somebody who has a 25% or less chance of 5 year survival. But they make it at least 3 years with stability or no evidence of disease, or perhaps they take a completely alternative approach. We love to tell the stories of those people as well. But we're including people that take the integrative approach. You, Chris, are featured in that book. I mean, you were one of the stories that Dr. Turner, collected. You're part of that 1,500 plus. And she was really looking at what do all of these people have in common? And initially it was 9 factors. Exercise was added to Radical Hope because she really wondered why it didn't show up because it's such an evidence-based, so well researched and it helps us overcome cancer or prevent, et cetera. And it turns out that because so many of those people in that first book were sent home on hospice after conventional medicine failed, that they weren't thinking of exercise in the traditional sense of the word. Like, I'm not running marathons, I'm not lifting weights, I can't even go to the gym, I can barely get out of bed. But what she found out was that all of them were moving their body as much as they could when they could. So exercise did become the 10th factor, and Radical Hope also introduced folks with non-cancer diagnoses that were using those 10 healing factors to overcome.
Well, and one thing that I like to point out about this research is that of the 10 factors, only 3 of them, right, are physical. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's
Diet,
absolutely right.
supplements, and exercise are key, but there's 7 other factors involved that need to be addressed. And I'd love for you to touch on some of those.
Yeah, we've got 4 categories. So you mentioned the physical, and then we've got the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual factors. And it is interesting because most people will start to dig into the physical. It's tangible. They get it. And they know the food they put in their mouth is going to make a difference. They know that they could take herbs and supplements to help. Exercise is obvious. It's the spiritual ones, I think, that maybe are a little less obvious to people, mental and emotional, it's not things they naturally think of. So when we talk about spiritual, we're talking about deepening your spirituality. Whether you're religious or not, you can have a spiritual life. And deepening your connection to something bigger than yourself was what Dr. Turner uncovered when she talked to all of these survivors. The other one is intuition, really following, learning to hone your intuition, develop it, and follow it, listening to that voice within. And for me and many people I talk to, that voice within, you can call it whatever you want. But to me, it is a direct line to God, to the divine, to spirit, right? It's that connection that you have that's helping you. If you get quiet, if you sit and just listen, you can start to hear that voice a little bit more, but it's not something that we really cultivate in our normal life. So, something for people to learn about.
Takes deliberate effort.
It really
Yeah.
does. You need to consciously decide to sit and be quiet to really tap into that.
And
And the
before you
emotion,
talk about the others, I want to say
sure.
something. The physical The physical aspects, changing your diet, taking some supplements, starting to exercise, even if it's just walking, which is way better for you than you realize. Walking in the morning, in the early morning sunlight, so good. It is incredible for you. It seems like this isn't doing anything. It is doing a lot. But those are the things that people can change right away, right? The physical things you can start today, literally today. And the mental, emotional, and spiritual things, that takes a little time, right? That takes some work. I mean, working through your past, your beliefs, your attitudes, like forgiveness, resentment, your relationship with God, those kind of things, that takes some time. But the physical actions that you can take are like the jump start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you take those actions, you really start to feel empowered. And because you're moving forward, you're making progress, you're taking control of your life. And to me, that's like that propels you. My own story is that I made those changes first, and this is what I encourage everyone to do. Change your diet first. Just do that. Uh, and once I made a radical diet change, then and kind of had it dialed in, and I'm doing this, then I realized, okay, what else can I do now?
Yep.
What's next?
You're ready to
And
move forward.
so, yeah, so that leads us to the mental and emotional and spiritual, which you touched on spiritual, but talk about the other two.
Yeah, mental, you mentioned empowerment. That's one of the factors, being empowered in your own health. So it was originally called Taking Control of Your Health, and Dr. Turner changed it to empowerment in the second book because we can't have control over everything. But essentially, what it means is become the CEO of your health. It's Save Your Life Incorporated, and you need to sit at the head of that boardroom table and align it with the practitioners and experts and anybody that's going to help you on your healing journey. Your cancer coach, your oncologist, your naturopath, your acupuncturist, whoever it is you're working with, those are the people that sit at the table providing their expertise and their opinions. But ultimately, it's you that needs to decide what you're actually going to do. Which direction are you gonna go? Who are you going to really listen to?
And that's really important because you need to consult more than one person. And I
Absolutely.
think a lot of patients, they go to one doctor, they get one opinion, and they just think, well, that's it. That this is, they assume that every other opinion is going to be the same,
Right?
right? As the
Yep.
one they just heard.
Yep.
And they don't, but if you get a second opinion, a third opinion, you start to go, in some ways, it's a little scary because you're like, uh-oh, right? These opinions are different.
Now what
These
do I do?
these recommend and that's just conventional. If you get
Mhm.
3 conventional opinions, there's gonna be some differences. Then once you step over and start talking to, holistic doctors, naturopaths, osteopaths, integrative oncologists, you're gonna get even more, and that to me is I understand the fear and the reservation about doing that because it can feel overwhelming. But what you're saying is, like, so critical is, like, if you decide I'm going to be in charge of my health journey, I'm going to be the CEO, great analogy. I'm going to consult with people, but ultimately I'm going to think through, right? I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to research. And so I can make the best decision for myself. That's, I mean, I think that is such a key component that I see over and over. And I imagine you do as well in people who survive against the odds.
Definitely. And it's good you bring up the multiple opinions. And I always recommend to people don't just get two opinions from conventional oncologists. Go outside that box of conventional and find that naturopathic oncologist or the integrative oncologist or someone that isn't in that medical conventional, format because you do want to understand from a different perspective how you could approach this. And the other thing is people, they get that first opinion, they're scared to death, and then they think, I just want it out. I just want it out. Do the surgery, get it out of me. And most cancers are not an emergency. It's not a physical emergency typically. There are some that are. I definitely know that, people sometimes do need to act fast. But for the great majority of us that get diagnosed, we have time. We have several weeks. That cancer is not going to kill us in the next 3 months, right? So take some time, sit quietly with yourself, pray about it, talk to others, do a little bit of research, and make the decision about how to move forward from a place of peace, not a place of fear.
Yeah, that's really good. Fear-based decisions are almost always the wrong ones, you know, and fear is how patients get rushed into treatments that they don't understand,
Mm-hmm.
that can be incredibly harmful, destructive, and not necessarily curative,
Right.
but it's like, oh well, I got to do it right. We got to start tomorrow. I mean, and many of the people watching this know it's like as soon as you get that diagnosis, I mean, there is urgency. They are
Mm-hmm.
trying to, okay, we got an appointment scheduled. You got to meet with this oncologist or this radiation oncologist, and we need to get you into surgery. And when it's like it becomes this sort of whirlwind where you're in sort of like just getting spun around,
It
and you don't,
is a whirlwind. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
But, you get inside that machine and you can't get out.
Yeah, I call it the conveyor belt, right? You just put on the conveyor belt and it's like, here you go. And but it's less a conveyor belt and more like, a bullet train.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah.
It's more like a bullet train. Conveyor belts, it's pretty easy to get off of one of those, but like the bullet train,
Yeah, you're not gonna get off without getting hurt.
yeah, it's much scarier to jump off, right? It's much scarier. You said something earlier that just kind of reminded me, and this is a little bit off topic, but you said you have a goal of living to 100, which I do as well.
Yay.
Yeah, it's like it's such a wonderful milestone. But then it occurred to me the other day. I won't say why it occurred to me, but you might understand when I say what I'm about to say. But I thought, it'd be great to live to 100, but also, do I want to get so old that I'm annoying to every person around me?
Yes,
I'm not
I want
sure.
to. I do. I wanna be actually, I don't wanna be annoying. I wanna be a spunky old lady.
I know. I
And you
know.
gotta put the disclaimer on it, Chris. You gotta say healthy and sane. We
Yeah.
don't wanna live to be 100 when we're drooling on ourselves and babbling. So, yeah, healthy and sane.
Fit, active, thriving at 100. Absolutely. Yeah. But not the old person that everybody's like rolling their eyes at, like,
Right.
did you just die already?
Yeah, exactly. You need to, stay up on technology, make sure you know the
Yeah.
latest. Make sure you keep young people in your life to help you.
I don't even want to
I
think
got
about what
strategies.
technology is going to look like
I know,
in,
right?
I mean, I'm 48, right? What's technology going to look like in 52 years? It's frightening to even
It is.
imagine.
It is a
But
little scary
anyway,
to get. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get to 100 before you, so nah, nah, nah.
you're ahead of me. You're a little bit ahead of me, and you can tell me how it is
I
when
will,
you get
I will.
there. You can let me know
And
how you feel.
you're invited to come to my 100th birthday party. When I turned
Okay.
50, I 50 was the year after I got my metastatic diagnosis, and so I threw myself a giant birthday bash. It was kind of like having a little wedding. I had music, dancing, the photo booth where people could put on silly hats and take photos. We had food. I had a free healthy cake. It was just really a fun party. And I gave everybody a little gift. It was a tea mug or coffee mug that said, save the date, December 9th, 2065, Carla's Fabulous 100th. So everybody was invited to come back. So you're going to be young enough to come in December of 2065, wherever I'm having that party.
40 years. Okay, hang on.
Yep, write
My
that on your
calendar only goes
calendar.
through next year, but
Just keep it in mind.
yeah,
I'll
that's
send you a
great.
mug. Everybody that's got the mugs, like, I
Reminder
know your
mug.
birthday. I'm
That's
keeping it
great.
in mind.
Okay, so we've kind of talked through, and again, we're jumping around, but it's fun. 3 of the 10 factors are physical, 7 are not physical. They're mental, emotional, and spiritual, and also social, right?
Yeah. So let me finish off the mental. So we talked about empowerment. There's also social support and strong reasons for living. The social, it's not about how many friends do you have, it's about receiving love and support. How good are you at receiving? So many of us are good at giving, but we're always like, no, no, I got this. I'm good. I'm strong enough. I can do this. I'm independent, right? We have that mentality. It's sort of, baked into the culture. And honestly, you need to learn to receive love and support and maybe even learn the bigger lesson of asking for love and support, asking
Yeah.
people to help you. And it's okay if you only have 2 people. It doesn't need to be 50 people. Everybody has a different perspective on what's the right number of people to support them or the right amount of support. But knowing that there is some love and support coming your way is really important. And I always like to encourage people to allow people to support you because you know how good it feels to help. Don't deny other people that good feeling.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point, and it's hard. I mean, it really is hard to ask for help because I
Hmm.
think a lot of us, we just don't wanna be a burden to anybody,
Right.
we
That's what
just
we
don't.
think. I'm going to be a burden.
Yeah, we don't wanna be a burden. We don't, everybody's got their own stuff they gotta deal with, and, asking somebody to help you, yeah, it's hard, and then there's that other weird thing of, like, now I feel indebted to them because I asked
Hmm.
them to help
Hmm.
me, and yeah, and I understand personally, I understand that is difficult. It's difficult to ask for help. And I mean, it's so wonderful when people do help you. But I also want to say there's a little bit of a slippery slope there, right? Because in some instances, a patient can ask for and receive a lot of help. And in that receiving of help, they really feel loved
Mhm.
more so than they ever have. And that becomes addictive.
Yes.
And then they can become too needy.
Mhm.
And so part of my message, right, is I 100% agree, like, you need help and support. You need it, but you also need to do things for yourself,
Mhm.
right? And so that's why I'm saying there's this fine line, slippery slope, whatever you want to call it, of you've got to take control of your life and your health, right? There's some things that you need help with and get help. But other
Right.
things you don't need to be dependent on everybody else to do everything for you. So the way this is my summary of this is I tell patients, you need to go buy your own groceries,
Mm.
right? You need to go to the store, pick out the produce, put it in the cart, take it to the checkout, pay for it, take it home, and put it away, right? Don't expect your spouse to buy your food and make your juices and your smoothies and and just wait on you hand and foot if you're able.
Mhm.
If you're physically able, like, that to me is really taking control of your health, and it
Right.
starts with the food.
Yep.
So there's other things that can be helpful. And sure, if your spouse wants to help make your juices and help and make some meals for you, it's awesome. That's great. But
Absolutely.
I've seen patients where the spouse is sort of doing all the work for the patient. And the patient is like, no, if you make it, I'll eat it. Right.
Right. Not the
If
right
you
attitude.
make the juices, I'll drink them. And I'm like, hey, wrong attitude. Like,
Mhm.
that is not the attitude of a winner. That is
Right.
not a successful radical remission survivor attitude, right?
Exactly.
So, there's a balance there, right?
There sure is. And the other part of that slippery slope is if that is the first time you're feeling love and support and you get a little bit addicted to it, you might hang on to, like energetically hang on to having a diagnosis because the only way you felt love and support is by having a diagnosis.
That's right.
So that's a deeper conversation that I do in coaching with people. Like, what are you getting out of having a diagnosis? And let's make sure it's not something, like that you can't let go of.
That's right. And
Yeah.
there are we I think a lot of us have interacted with people that are chronically needy. And I'm not
Mm.
talking about
Mhm.
cancer patients. They're chronically needy because that's the way that they get attention for themselves. I'm not judging people that do this because it's from a place of hurt, right? These are people that really just want love,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They want love and attention, and attention for them feels like love.
Hmm.
And so they're chronically needy. And yeah, cancer patients can get trapped in that, as you said. And having someone like you, having a coach or someone they can really talk to that understands this process, this psychological and emotional process, and is really important. And one of the questions that I ask patients, one of the first questions I ask is like, do you want to live?
Hmm.
Do you really want to live? Do you really want to get well? Do you really want to get well? Because some patients have a sort of, as you alluded to, they secretly don't want to get well because they don't want to lose the attention.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I found Lissa Rankin's book, Mind Over Medicine, to be a
Hmm.
huge help. And she delves into this topic and how to give up whatever it is that you have come to find, is good out of the diagnosis. Like, whether or not you no longer have to work at that horrible job you hated because you're on disability. Don't stay on disability just to avoid the horrible job. So,
Right.
yeah.
Great book. Glad you brought
Yeah.
it up.
Yep. It
Mind
is.
Over Medicine, Dr. Lissa Rankin.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Tell me, you mentioned, do you want to live? And so for the radical remission factors, it's a little bit of that strong reasons for living. What is your
Yes.
reason for living, right? Why do you want to live? What's the why? And when you know your why, it can help make the other changes you need to make a little bit easier, right? I'm doing this because I've got this really strong reason. I know why I want to live. So, yes, I'm going to do what I have to do with exercise and nutrition and spirituality, all of it.
Yeah.
So, that's a really good one to dig into and figure out. And some people get really caught up in, I don't know what my purpose is. And you got to go really simple. You got to go back down to foundationally, every single human being on the planet has a purpose. And at the base level, it is love and kindness. To be loving and kind to others. Start there and then see what else you can find. How do you show your love and your kindness and how do you connect with others? And you don't have to be the Nobel Prize winner or have all the fame and fortune to have purpose.
For me, it was family.
Yeah.
It still is, right? It's like at the end of the day, I want to take care of my wife as her husband. I want to be a great dad for my two daughters. Like everything else could go away. Like those, I know what my priorities are, and it's family. And then I have my mom's still alive, so I'm taking care of her. She's widowed. My wife's mother is also widowed last year. And so these are the people that I know I am here to love and support and serve more than everybody else. But I have leftovers, right? Like I'm trying to love and support and serve a lot of people out there,
Right.
as you are too, as being a survivor and a patient advocate and a public person.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, like really your core loved ones to me is like that's almost everyone has people they love,
Right. And it
right?
doesn't have to be your family of origin, right? It
No.
could be the family you chose
Yep.
along the way, the people that are important to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So those were my reasons. And when I was diagnosed, it was just my wife and my parents. I had 3 people to live for, and then my wife got pregnant. So I was like, I got 4 people to live for.
When did you add your in-laws in there?
My in-laws, truth be told, they weren't on the list back then. Uh, they are now.
Good,
Back
good.
then, it was my wife, mom, and dad. It's
Yeah.
like those are the people that I really, really, you know, wanted to live for, and the baby on the way. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's like get very clear. Do you want to live? And what do you have to live for, or who do you have to live for? And once you've answered those questions for yourself, then I think it just, yeah, it really solidifies your purpose.
Yeah, it really does. Now, I do want to acknowledge that there are people that don't have children or don't have close family members or estranged from family. There's still reasons to live, right?
Yeah.
There are still things that you want to accomplish or do with your life, or you want to make a difference, the service work that you do, social action. There's all sorts of things that can give your life purpose and meaning.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And sometimes you have to find new purpose,
And our
right?
purpose changes, right?
Yeah. Purpose changes with time.
My kids are in their mid 20s now, so I'm not so much about being a mom. Yes, I'm always going to be a mom and I'm always going to want to be in their lives and be part of it and see their milestones, but I don't have as much of that hands-on work to do with little
Yeah.
ones that I did when I first got
You're
cancer.
not making peanut
I
butter and
am
jelly
not.
sandwich.
I don't have to make anybody's peanut butter and jelly sandwich anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't, if you're listening and you're confused about your purpose, right? Yeah, you may just be like, you know what? I need to find a new purpose, right? I need to, and cancer is a big wake up call, right? It's like, okay, what am I doing with my life, right? Am I just wasting time and just wasting days, just like not accomplishing anything, not serving anyone, not, you know, making any kind of mark on the world? And again, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be an internet celebrity, right? You don't have
Mhm.
to be on social media at all, but it's like, I can make a difference in the world or in my community or my family or whatever. Like, but I need to get out there and do some new things, right?
Yep.
I need to do some
Exactly.
new things. I can volunteer at soup kitchens or, homeless shelters or,
Hmm.
so many. I mean, there's more opportunities. And I went through a phase recently where it was like, I was feeling really generous and wanted to spend more time doing things. I was like, I'm overwhelmed. I
Yeah,
had a hard time picking like where to donate money to, where to focus some time and attention to. It's like, oh my gosh, the need is so huge,
it is.
right?
It is.
It is so huge that if you just start looking for opportunities to serve, they're everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. Find something, start there, right? You can always refine it, change it,
Yeah.
add more. Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Yeah.
So talk about the specifics of your cancer strategy. Like what did your daily routine look like?
Yeah. Real quick, can I throw in the two emotional factors?
Please.
Increasing positive emotions. So finding at least 5 minutes a day to feel love, laughter, joy, happiness. And then on the other hand, releasing emotions. So whether it's repressed, suppressed, or the day to day stress and strain of life, you need to figure out how to feel all the emotions and feel them fully, but then release them, not hanging on to them, not stuffing them, not pushing them away. So we need to face our fear, things like that.
It's
Yeah,
huge. And releasing is forgiving.
exactly. Yep.
Forgiveness is something I talk about all the time. It's
Right.
like you are letting go of the pain, you're letting go of the need for justice necessarily or vengeance or whatever. And you're just, for me, I was like, God, I'm just forgiving them and I'm giving it to you and they're all yours.
Right.
All right. You can deal with these people that have hurt me. I'm just not going to let that pain and anger and resentment fester, right? And consume me anymore. I'm just letting it go, right? And I just don't I wanna be free from the
Yeah,
prison of pain,
exactly.
and the only way to get free is forgive. That's it. That just let yourself out of the cage when you
Mhm.
forgive. It's like, you
Mhm.
don't need anyone's permission to do it. You can do it. You can make the choice, and you don't even have to feel like it. You can choose to do it even if you don't feel like it, and your feelings change.
You may have to choose it for a number of days in a row, right?
Yes,
Until it's truly released.
that's right.
Yeah. And
Well,
then
I
there are
like to say
those.
forgiveness is a decision for life,
There
right?
you go.
It's like a healthy diet. It only
Mhm.
works if you stick with it.
Yeah.
So, like, when the feelings start to creep in, you have to be like, "No, I forgive. I forgave that person. I'm sticking with it. I'm not gonna let the resentments creep in." Like, no, I'm letting it go. It's like, this is not going to take up any more real estate in my mind or in my heart, you know?
Yep.
And it's a process. Some people are easy to forgive, some people are hard, but it is a process. And I can tell you, I made a decision to forgive every person who's ever hurt me, and to continue to forgive people as they hurt me. But the initial thing was like, he's like, I'm going to forgive every person until there's no one left. You know what I mean? Until
Mhm.
there is no one left that I can think of, and I've racked my brains. I've dredged the lake.
You went back through 3rd grade, 6th grade, all of those
Yeah,
people?
all of it. Yeah, the mean kid on the playground,
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of it. And it's so freeing. It's such an incredible, powerful thing. It costs you nothing to do it.
Yep.
Costs you nothing to forgive. And it really just gives you back the power over your emotions and your thoughts
Mhm.
because, it's easy to lose that and think someone else ruined my life. Someone else messed me up, right? And you become a victim. And victimhood is so deadly because victimhood makes you, and this ties into the radical remission concepts, being empowered, right? Victims are not empowered, right? Victims are disempowered. It's you become helpless and hopeless when you see yourself as a victim of someone else's bad behavior, right? And there is an alternate, or let's just say polarized way to look at that situation, which is they hurt me, right? I'm not going to pretend like that didn't happen. They hurt me, but I'm not going to let that dictate how I live my life,
Right. It's your
right?
choice.
I'm not going to let that have any power over me anymore. It's a part of my story, but it's not part of my identity.
Like that, for sure. And, we need to be conscious and make those choices, choosing to forgive for our own good. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's for your own good. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. So my strategy initially, I dove into the diet stuff, but also with the cancer coach, I really dug into the detoxification sort of stuff and really cleaning up my lifestyle and all of that. But some of the deep work that I needed to do, I mentioned I went back to my therapist, and what I realized, I don't know at what point, but working with her for months, and I still go back and see her periodically, take a break, and then I'm like, wait, I need you again. I think everybody on the planet should have a therapist, but especially if you get a diagnosis. But she helped me to realize, or maybe, I came to finally realize that I was seeking validation outside myself. I was not loving myself and believing that I was enough. And so I really did some work on figuring out, how do I love myself? How do I, stop seeking validation? I don't need the A plus, the gold star, the, whatever, from bosses or, project teams or awards, winning in the workplace. I needed to realize that Karla, soaking wet out of the shower, no makeup, no hair, no jewelry, no clothing, right? Is perfect as she is, perfect and complete and whole and lovable. And that's a lesson I continue to just work on and check in on and make sure. And there are times when I go back to, seeking validation in some way or another and reminding myself that I'm good enough just the way I am. And that
That's
was a
great.
big lesson.
I had a similar revelation, which was, when you're sort of in the throes of sickness and fear, you really don't care about anything else than getting well, right? The old adage that, the healthy person cares about everything and the sick person only cares about one thing. And for me, I found it easy, you know, I think it's harder for a healthy person to take this advice. But for me, when I was sick, it was very easy for me to just be like, I don't need anything from anybody. You know, I just want to get well. That's all I need. I don't need anybody to like me or tell me I'm good looking or well dressed or successful. Like, I don't care. you
Yeah,
know, I don't need
exactly.
any of that. None of that is going to help me. It's like, I just need to get well, and I need to be uh content,
Mhm.
you know. And I learned cancer taught me how to be content in a very difficult season of life, right? And to count my blessings and to just thank God for the good things that I had in spite of the difficult circumstance, right? To be thankful and grateful for my wife and for my family and that I had, a home and enough money to buy groceries and just the really simple things that we take for granted. And so, I think accepting myself, and I certainly had a lot of insecurities and regrets and, just all the stuff, right? Just stuff that's swirling in your mind,
Yeah. Yes, we as humans have lots of swirling
and
going on.
envy and jealousies and competitiveness and like all this stuff. And but yeah, I found maybe it isn't always the case, but I found that it was when I was sick, it was so easy to let those things go. It was the big wake up call. Like none of that matters at all. Like it doesn't matter at all. And why am I even wasting any time or energy caring about so many things? And then when you get well, you start to care about those things again. You start to get sucked back into it.
And you
So
have
it's a
to be really
lifelong
careful.
process.
Yes, you have to remain conscience so that you can see, I'm starting to get back onto that hamster wheel or that
Yeah.
conveyor belt of life, right? That just sweeps you along into all the madness and silliness. And so remaining awake and conscious of what you truly want is so important.
Yeah.
But that
I
is the gift of a diagnosis because so many people, the cancer diagnosis itself isn't the gift, but what comes out of it can be the learning, that the things that you realize about yourself.
yeah, there are so many blessings that come through adversity. The adversity is not the blessing, but the blessings are coming. It's the silver lining,
Yeah,
right, of a
exactly.
dark cloud. Like I didn't make that up. Like that's That's very, very old. It's ancient wisdom, right? There is if you're looking for the silver lining, like, you'll find it. If you're not, if you just focus on the dark cloud, then that puts you in sort of a state of defeat and despair and hopelessness and helplessness. But if you just will stop and say, "You know what? Something good is gonna come out of this," right? Something good is coming as a result of this, and man, I'm telling you, it shifts your perspective, and it's like the antennas go up, right? And you become very sensitized to good things as
That's
they come
true.
along.
Yep. Yeah, when you're grateful, you find more to be grateful for. The gratitude starts to flow a lot more, and that's the whole thing with increasing your positive emotions. What you focus on is what you're gonna get more of, so focus on the positive. Doesn't mean you can't have negative thoughts, but, you are human after all.
Yeah,
Try to find the things to be grateful for.
yep. And I just practice shifting, the negative thoughts creep in, I've gotten pretty good at quickly identifying them, getting out of that negative state, right? And shifting back into a positive state. And but, you know, a lot of us, it's very easy to get into a negative emotional state and then just be in it,
Stay there, right?
just stay
Yep,
there and just be like irritable or angry or in a funk and just stew in it, And so I'm guilty of that. I'm still guilty of that. It still happens to me rarely, but it does happen. But most of the time, I'm able to kind of snap myself out of it pretty quick and be like, you know what? This is not worth being upset over. Let it go. Forget it. This
right.
is, you
Yeah,
know?
good to know you're human, Chris.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. And so I just have to remind myself my gratitude hack is I can just kind of stop in the moment of frustration or whatever and go, right now there's somebody dying in the hospital that would love to trade places with you. You know, they'd love to trade places with you and have your problems. And it's like, yeah, okay, right. Like, this is so insignificant. It's not, right? This is not worth stealing my joy and anger and being upset and all this kind of stuff. It's just not worth it. Like,
Yep, it'll snap you
you know,
out of it, right?
well, okay. So I do want to talk about we're almost an hour, but can we at least talk about your daily routine? Because I know my
Sure.
audience loves to hear not just the sort of esoteric stuff, but the
Mhm.
practical, like a really practical things. So what did a day in the life look like for Karla in your, just like I'm in the thick of it, I'm focused on health and healing. What did your daily routine look like?
Yeah, in those first 3 months when I was really in the thick of it and had taken time off work, my day, I will admit, was probably a little bit too much searching and striving for answers, the researching, the talking to people, the looking at, all the things and reading the books. But it was all about learning how to make meals. So number 1 priority was always how am I going to feed myself today? And I was super restrictive in the beginning and really only ate vegetables, not even grains and legumes. And so, when you're used to the standard American diet and now you're like, I'm only going to eat vegetables, it's a big shift. So, learning how to shop and cook and prepare food and how to have things, on hand, like, okay, I got appointments. I'm going to be at the hospital today and there's not going to be good food there. So, what do I need to do? And that did take up quite a bit of time and mental processing. But getting the healthy food made, and I started to learn to do some batching and, make some chia seed pudding, have some things on hand like that. And it was also about, all right, I've got these supplements to take. I've got to, you know, the process of clearing out the products. So I used the Environmental Working Group's app to scan all my health and beauty products and look at what their rating was. And if it was in the red, I threw it away and went and bought something new. If it was a neutral yellow, I was like, all right, I'll use this up and then replace that. So there was time doing that. But also at some point along the way, I don't think it was in the first 3 months, but I did buy a rebounder based on Chris WARK and the rebounding.
Did you see my rebounder video from
I
like
did your little portable
2010?
one. Yep.
Yeah, it's still out there. I've never updated it. It's like 15 years old.
That's okay. I don't know that I bought that one, but I found one.
Yeah.
And it's something that I did and then didn't and now do again. So it's kind of worked its way back into my routine. Exercise is probably the thing I struggle with the most because I don't really like to sweat. And I've got to have time like scheduled, and I've got to know exactly what I'm going to do in order to do it and get it done. And so I still work to make sure I get that in. But in those early days, I was probably more focused on the food than anything. The herbs and supplements came through the registered nurse who was my cancer coach, really helping me to figure out what my body needed. Unfortunately, there wasn't any testing. There was just assessment of detailed health history, and here's what the diagnosis is. And now I work with an integrative doctor who does the blood test, and we know exactly what I need and why I need it.
And what test is that? Is it SpectraCell or a similar?
No, it is a proprietary test at the Block Center in the Chicago
Got it.
area. So
But
they
it's like a
run
micronutrient profile
they
test.
run a terrain
Yeah.
panel. They wanna look at what's going on nutritionally once I got an A plus on my diet, then they start, "Okay, we gotta tweak the supplementation to see how we can get it
Yeah.
everything in the optimal zone."
Yeah. It's like looking at your vitamin D status, your
Yep.
zinc, different, just the vitamins, the minerals, stuff that you need to optimize.
Right. Yep. And then looking at the inflammation to make sure we're bringing that down and keeping the glycemic levels low, all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
another big thing was managing my stress. I had the big corporate job. I did a lot of international travel prior to the diagnosis and then not afterwards. And really looking at how could I manage that better. So, learning to practice meditation. And I was not the kind of person that would sit down and sit still and sit quietly. I was on the go, 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 go all the time, filling up my calendar with things. And if there was an empty spot on the calendar, I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that day. I'll fill it in with something fun or something I got to do. And I took on the mantra that I am going to break up with busy. So I broke up with busy. I stopped booking my calendar full and left white space on it and really learned how to just sit and just be, to maybe relax, daydream, meditate, and just listen for what messages were coming from the divine.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What do you have a favorite time of day to meditate?
Morning. I love my mornings. And now that I call it, now that I work for myself, I own my day. The corporate world doesn't own my day anymore. So I get up in the morning whenever I want, and I will sit on the couch for an hour, hour and a half, reading spiritual lessons, meditating, just relaxing, having a cup of green tea. I just really spend my morning setting the tone for my day, setting the intention for my day
It's
to
great.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't I mean, I can do it, but meditating in the morning, I feel like I'm a little too sleepy.
Uh, yeah.
So it's like I'm better if I do it later, just past morning, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, like yeah, if I do it. I found that it's a little better if it's in the morning. I'm just like, I think I might just fall back asleep again. But no, that's great. That's great. Anytime you do it's good.
Exactly. Whatever time you do it is the perfect time, you
Mhm.
know, and you gotta find your own sweet spot.
Yep.
And I try to do 20 minutes a day, and I recently purchased the heart math device to look at coherence. And so I'm doing 10 minutes of just quiet meditation and then 10 minutes of coherent meditation, which is also quiet, but kind of paying attention, trying to see what getting into coherence takes.
Yeah. Yep. I have that device as well, and I've used it some and then got out of the habit, and now you've just reminded me, like,
Yeah,
"Oh, yeah, I should get that thing out again."
you
It's a great
should. And
goal.
the app is
It's
amazing.
the ear clip, right? Or is
Yeah.
it the Yeah.
Yeah, it's the little thing that clips on your ear and measures your heart rate variability and then,
Mhm.
your coherence. But the app that goes with it on your phone has great lessons and you get the whole book there and, all the information. And yeah.
I had a meditation we're getting on a meditation tangent, but I had this meditation headband
Mm,
that I used for a while, and, until the company made a change, and then they wanted me to start paying for access to their app or something. I was like,
That
okay.
stinks.
Yeah, something happened. But anyway, I used it for, I don't know, I feel like a couple years, but it was actually, you know, I enjoyed it because it would give you this feedback. It was just like a headband and it had a couple sensors, and it would give you neural feedback on, your meditative state throughout 5 minutes or 20 minutes, however long you did it,
Hmm.
and whether your brain was active or it was calm. So you can kind of see that. And then it would also, it had different sounds, like you could listen to the jungle or the ocean or whatever, but it would give you feedback. And so as your brain would become more active, like the jungle sounds would get louder. So yeah, so it gave you this real time feedback, which maybe would mess some people up, but for me it was like, oh, okay. And then I would start to hear the sounds get louder, and it didn't make me like panic, but like, oh yeah, I need to like
Bring it
just
back
focus back on
down.
my breath and just
Yeah.
calm down again. Like, and so it kind of gamified it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
The device, if anyone's interested, I did enjoy it, but again, they've changed their terms, so don't consider this a full endorsement, but it's called Muse. This is the case for it.
Okay.
It was the Muse device, and I really did enjoy using it for a while, and I'll even demonstrate on camera, but this is it. All right, you put it
Uh,
on like this,
this thing.
and then
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
So, and then there's an app or whatever, and I actually keep the heart math device in the case with the
Right there
Muse.
with it. There you go. You
Yeah.
got all your devices.
So I got a few years ago. It's been, yeah, it's been some years, but I kind of got on a kick with like the meditation devices and tracking and seeing that if I could quantify the benefits, and so that was anyway.
Yeah, and
Total
some
rabbit trail.
people love the data, right? They want the device to make them, do the measurements to see the data, right? And I'm not necessarily one of those people, but the heart math device is kind of interesting and just really curious about it. But,
Yeah. Well, I think, and I think for me, I was a skeptic,
mm,
right? I was skeptical. I was like, I don't know, is this really doing anything? And then I started reading some books on, studies, meditation studies, scientific studies, and I was like, wow, okay, there is actually some like legit science like behind this.
yeah,
And then I kind of learned about these devices, and I was like, let me try these out. And yeah, for me, it was like once I was seeing the real measured benefit, it was like, okay, I'm convinced now.
okay.
Right.
You can believe it. You'll keep doing it,
I
right?
got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it. I don't need the devices anymore, right? But yeah, it's some people may never need them, but for me, it was like, oh wow, no, this is real. Like there are real physiological benefits to just sitting calmly and quietly and paying attention to your breath, and just sort of, you know, clearing your mind. Now, there are people that are critical of meditation, spiritually critical, and they're like, you don't want to clear your mind, you want to, pray. You can do both.
hmm,
You can do both. You can sit quietly and be still, and you can also actively pray. They're two different things.
they really are. And I feel like when you're praying, you're speaking to God, and when you're quiet, you're listening,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So yeah, everybody's gotta choose what
you
works for
can do
them, though,
that.
and one thing to say too, just about the devices, like, we could spend a lot of money trying to heal ourselves, but we can also heal ourselves without spending a lot of money.
Right.
Like, each one of these radical remission factors, you could just spend tons of money digging in with the specialist or the devices or whatever it might be, but on the other hand, at the foundational level, you can do it all for free, other than
That's
herbs
right.
and supplements, right? They're
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can buy a couple $100, device, or you can just do it.
yeah,
You can just
sit and
sit
meditate.
down for 5 minutes or 10 or 20 minutes quietly and just do it and not spend any money. So for the nerdy, quantified self people, right? If you want to see the feedback and all that, hey, it's
Yeah,
available.
there you go.
You want it. Some people, it might help them, keep going, keep doing it, to get the points and the levels and you know, all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff that you get in some of these apps. But anyway, well, Carla, this has been so fun. I love your story. I love what you're doing. I just am so pleased that we had a chance to do this interview.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
where can people connect with you?
My goodness. Yes, please connect with radicalremission.com. And if I may, if people go to the radicalremission.com website, there's a free download, Kickstart Your Healing, with 20 radical remission tips that they can download once they subscribe to the newsletter. On the website is the Find a Coach directory, and I'm listed in that directory. People can find me and all the other certified radical remission coaches there if they want to work together one-on-one, or they can also look at Find an Event and find workshops and group coaching and different things we do. And we recently started a Thrivers community, so there are monthly events. They can find those as well. And I want to put out a plug for anybody that is a radical remission survivor. I know you've talked to a lot of them, but we've got the podcast, Stories That Heal. So we're always looking for survivors that we can interview and share on our podcast. So there's a share your story form there as well.
That's great. And what's the criteria?
The criteria is, so to be a radical remission survivor, you're 3 years of stable or no evidence of disease with a late stage diagnosis, 25% or less chance of 5-year survival, or you've taken a completely alternative approach.
Got it.
Yeah. And then if people want to reach out to me directly, Karla at radicalremission.com.
Love it. Okay. Thank you, Karla. It's
Yeah.
been great. Great to talk to you. Keep up the good work.
You too,
And
Chris.
folks, we'll
Yes.
post links below to connect with Karla, some of the books we mentioned, and other stuff that's come up in our conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a link below this. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, there's a link in the show notes to a link to get to the show notes from there. So yeah, again, I hope you all have a great day. God bless you all. Again, thank you so much, Karla. And please share this interview with people that you care about, especially cancer patients or especially breast cancer patients, because as I said at the very beginning, the world needs to know that cancer can be healed, that it does not have to be a death sentence. And what Karla's doing and what I'm doing is we're just trying to pull people out of the pit of despair, right? Of that pit of hopelessness, and give them that spark of hope that can, really be fanned into a bonfire, right? Of action, right? Of radical, life-changing action. And so anyway, that's what we're here to do. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.